It's on him. I thought it was great because the writing was great. It was really just emotionally driven. You know, it was a subject that was tough to watch about kids being kidnapped and killed and, you know, having things done to them. And that's always hard to watch for me personally. But I thought it was done very well.
Beasts of the Southern Wild.
We watched it the other day. It was the most overrated film I've seen all year.
I thought there was a spoiler. We'll just say that this will be spoiler central. There will be spoilers on this vlog.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end, when
Chiva went to Genze, or whatever her name is.
When Hush Puppy and her father get out of the bathtub and are brought into the clinic,
it got insulting.
I actually thought it was very interesting. I was actually reminded of the film Dogtooth, and I can't pronounce the director's name because he's Greek, but both films involve fictional worlds being crumbling away against the idea of reality. And I thought that idea was very interesting, but they did not hold it up. And I thought if they had gone in that direction, it would have been more interesting.
I agree. I think it had a good idea. It was a good premise, and what it was trying to say was interesting enough, but it came across to me as kind of insulting. It treated the poor people like they were idiots.
It's very hard to have an opinion on this. I've seen debates about this before, about it being kind of poor people porn. It's very hard as white middle class people. I'm ethnically Asian, but I identify as fairly Caucasian because I'm adopted. But it's very hard to have an opinion on this kind of film and say that kind of thing.
I'm going to say some insulting things. So just be aware of that. I don't mean it in a mean way. It's just how I don't have a filter.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I'm sorry.
Another issue I had with the film is that it felt overly quaint and overly twee. And that is an issue I've had with a lot of certain independent films.
That brings up some more problems with, however you pronounce her name, the 8-year-old Hush Puppy in the film. My biggest problem with her Oscar nomination is, was she acting or was she just being 8 years old? I read that somewhere on Twitter. Kudos to whoever said that. But that's how 8-year-olds act that I know. I know 8-year-olds. I counsel them.
I don't know 8-year-olds. I don't remember what children look like. I don't like children.
He doesn't like children. I'm a camp counselor. I don't mind kids. But the point is, like, I don't think that she warranted an Oscar nomination because you can't know if she was acting for most of it or not acting for most of it. Kudos if she was, but I don't think the film itself even warranted an Oscar nomination. You should have thrown put the master in there instead.
Big PTA fan.
Huge PTA fan, actually. He didn't see the master, unfortunately, but I loved it. I thought it was one of the most emotionally riveting and gripping and daring films of the year. But that's beside the point. We're talking about
Django Unchained.
I thought.
I'll go first.
Okay, I'll go first. For Quentin Tarantino's work as a whole, I thought it fit in perfectly with all the tonal changes with comedy and you know, the whole slave debacle with the whole thing and how they were fighting. The scene where Jamie Foxx walks into Leonardo DiCaprio and the slaves are fighting on the floor was one of the most unsettling scenes I've seen in a long time, because he was playing it seriously, but then there were funny things going on with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jamie Foxx, and it was tough to watch, and I thought that was cool the way he did that. I thought that it flowed well. I personally thought it flowed well. Some points were jarring, but I thought it was better than Inglourious Basterds for me personally, because I love Inglourious Basterds, don't get me wrong. I think Christoph Waltz deserved that Oscar through and through, but I like Django Unchained because it had so much more to it. I feel like it appealed to so much more of a broader audience than Inglourious Basterds did. Inglourious Basterds required a lot more brain power from the viewer, because you had to read all the subtitles and you had to...
I think is insulting.
No,
I don't think that you need more brain power to read subtitles.
The people that go to my theater need more brain power to read subtitles. Please. But I feel like it was a lot more fun to watch. It was fun, but it made you think at the same time. It made you laugh, but it also made you cringe. The violence was used greatly, I thought, just to, you know, make a commentary on the entire violence issue, which is huge right now after it came out and everyone's attacking Tarantino for being so violent. But it's in a completely different context. I don't think it even warrants it. But I thought it was great. I think it's one of the three. We haven't seen more yet, but I think it's one of the three most deserving of the Oscar this year. The other two are Zero Dark 30 and Silver Linings Playbook, only going off of the films I have seen. That's the top three for me, because that's at the bottom of the three, but I thought it was a very well done film. The score, or the whole soundtrack was awesome. I used so many different types of music. And DiCaprio, when he gets an Oscar, it needs to be 15 times bigger, so he can get it for all the ones he missed out on. But all in all, I liked Django Unchained a lot, and I thought it was his best film since probably Pulp Fiction, because I love Jackie Brown, but it wasn't up to that snuff. It was different for me. And then Kill Bill 1 and 2, I never really connected with as much, although I do like them. And Death Proof I didn't like. Glorious Bastards was his best since Pulp Fiction then, but now I think this is better.
I enjoyed Django Unchained, but I think I would actually wager that it's the worst in his filmography. It felt incredibly sloppy at times, and I think that is partly due to the fact that Sally Manca passed away and she is no longer the editor of his film. So for me, there were tonal shifts and tonal changes that did not make sense and did not seem as justified as some of his stylistic changes may be. He's a frantic director, and he just pulls from everything that he can imagine. I mean, Kill Bill is essentially a mashup of every style that was in his head. From De Palma to Kurosawa to anime, it was just random. But it all had some sort of intersection. It all made sense. And Django Unchained makes Kill Bill and Inglourious Bastard look even more brilliant than they already are.
Kill Bill's not as brilliant. Anyways, go on.
I prefer Inglourious Bastards. Inglourious Bastards had different tones and stylistic arcs with each character arc. And even though that was very odd, when they all came together at the very end, there was an intersection not only between the characters crossing over, but in terms of the style, which made sense. Here, there was a very odd tonal shift in stylistic changes that didn't seem as grounded and didn't seem as justified as some of his previous work. There wasn't an intersection. I mean, it went from being a very odd bounty hunter buddy movie, using a Jim Croce song no less, which I thought was kind of funny but really jarring, to being a very violent revenge movie. And I thought the two styles were not able to really reconcile themselves in the end, and I was very surprised, because he's usually pretty good at tying his ends together. And politically speaking, in terms of whatever social commentary he was making, I thought it was okay. I will be honest and say that I was not entirely sure what he was trying to get at, but it was interesting. The performances I thought were very good. DiCaprio I thought was the standout, and it was surprised to me that Waltz got the nomination, because as good as he was,
wasn't as good as DiCaprio.
I was surprised. DiCaprio went balls out, and I thought it looked like he was having a lot of fun with that kind of character.
When he hit his fist in the table,
and he broke his hand.
I could tell there that was real blood, just the way that it looked.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great, because a real actor does that. He takes something that's going on and uses it to his character and to the scene. And that, I thought, was one of the best scenes in the whole movie, because he just goes balls out and just does that, and he wipes it on Kerry Washington's face, which I feel bad for her, because that's real blood that's on her face, and that's not nice. But I see what you're saying, how everything was kind of jarring, but I feel like, I don't want to say that was the point, that's Tarantino, because that's, I know
he's
that
a frantic director, and I get that, but it didn't make sense to me why he was using those styles when he was, in a much more conventional story. To me,
I thought he tried to make the story that was conventional, unconventional by using all the styles.
To me, the other films in his filmography all seem to fit very well within their context, with their setting. They seem tailor-fit. This one seemed too loose for Tarantino. It's a very good film by any other means, but for him, it seemed really lackluster, because it didn't seem as tight, as polished. It seemed really unpolished. It seemed a little sloppy. I think maybe had he been given a little bit more time in the editing room, it may have come out a little better.
I see exactly what you're saying, how it was sloppy. If I look back at Inglourious Basterds and all those other films, the editing was a lot big part of it, because she did die,
mm-hmm.
which is awful, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless.
Yeah, I still enjoyed it. I still had a lot of fun. My mother did not realize it was a Tarantino film going in.
Which is funny.
Which is funny. She knew coming out. I thought that the other best part of the film was the soundtrack. I love Tarantino's soundtrack.
Damn you, John Legend, for not releasing it as a single.
He uses very eclectic music, and it seems very anachronistic, but it just fits. And I did think that was very well used. I do want that John Legend song, but it's not available on iTunes. So, Janet, that was Django Unchained.
Which was very winded. Apologies. Oh, Les
Mis
Miserables. Okay, I'm going to start because I have some good things I want to talk about, and then we can both say the bad things.
Good things.
There are about 3 good things. People-wise, not...
I counted 1.5.
Anne Hathaway should win an Oscar for 20 minutes of screen time. I can't see any other supporting actress that deserves it more than her. As much as I love Amy Adams, I mean, she wasn't Anne Hathaway. God damn, that's the only instance in which I think Tom Hooper's awful direction made a bit of sense. A tiny, itsy-bitsy crack of sense was when that scene happened, when she sang that song. So that was the one good thing that I thought was the best part of the movie. I thought the performances as a whole were okay. I love Eddie Redmayne as an actor, and I liked him in the movie. He wasn't bad. He was good. His singing voice was great. I hate Amanda Seyfried and every ounce of her being in what she does in every movie because Eddie Redmayne had to carry her through every single song and every single scene. They had no on-screen chemistry. He had chemistry with the blank air when he was singing at it. He's that good of an actor, I thought.
Empty chairs for the win. What?
And then also, I don't remember her name, whoever sung the song in the street.
On My Own is Samantha Barks.
She was awesome.